Here are the highlights of this week's news on Japan Today. I'm Nathan. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has strongly condemned Iran's retaliatory attack on Israel and considers it an escalation that will further destabilize the Middle East. Kishida spoke to the media after Iran launched an unprecedented attack on Israel that began last Saturday evening and continued through to the following morning in response to a recent deadly strike on an Iranian consulate in Syria's capital city of Damascus. Kishida said he had instructed relevant ministries and agencies to gather information and coordinate responses with other countries, including to protect Japanese nationals abroad. Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa said in a statement that Japan is determined to make all necessary diplomatic efforts in order to prevent the situation from worsening. Furthermore, Japan has called on people planning to visit Iran to cancel their trips. For those in Iran wishing to leave the country, the ministry requested they consider doing so while commercial flights are still in operation. Sticking with Kishida, Japan's Prime Minister just spent a busy week in the US where he had a summit with President Joe Biden, attended a state dinner, gave a 30-minute English address to Congress, and visited North Carolina where over 200 Japanese companies have set up shop. He even made a few jokes in his speech to Congress. Kishida recalled that when he lived in New York as a young boy, he loved watching the Flintstones on TV, but could never figure out how to translate yabba dabba doo into Japanese. He also said he received more applause from Congress than he does from the Diet back in Japan. But his main message was to urge Congress to consider the importance of global commitments at a time of tension in both the Asia-Pacific region and Ukraine, going as far as to say that East Asia could become the next Ukraine. Kishida said he detects an undercurrent of self-doubt among some Americans about what their role in the world should be, but that Japan is committed to global security and stands shoulder to shoulder with the US. Unsurprisingly, Kishida's remarks drew sharp criticism from Beijing, which accused the US and Japan of smearing China in reference to Taiwan, interfering in China's domestic affairs, and violating basic norms of international relations. This week, a Tokyo court is hearing arguments in a lawsuit brought by 3 foreign residents of Japan over alleged racial profiling by police. They claim that police questioning without probable cause violates Article 14 of Japan's constitution, which prohibits discrimination based on race or origin. One of the plaintiffs, a 26-year-old man who lives in Nagoya, told reporters there were occasions when he had been stopped by police twice in a single day. And one time, he was even stopped as soon as he stepped out of his house. He was born in Pakistan, but has lived in Japan since he was just 8 years old. The issue of police harassing foreigners has become a hot topic in Japanese media. Magazine Shukan Kinyobi ran a feature story, which included comments from a former police officer of 20 years, who was quoted as saying, "I was warned that dark-skinned individuals might be carrying weapons. Until I became a police officer, I didn't harbor any negative image toward people from foreign countries. But at the time, I took my superior's words at face value and came to think that many foreign people have a propensity to crime or violence." In the end though, how will the court rule? Only time will tell, but we'll end on a word from the plaintiff's lawyer. Many people with foreign roots are living and working in Japan. If they are on the receiving end of this kind of discrimination, it damages the social community as a whole. US tech companies have been pouring billions of dollars into artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and chip production in Japan. Last month, Google launched a regional cyber defense hub here, and Amazon Web Services is spending $14 billion to expand Japanese cloud infrastructure. Microsoft, a partner of ChatGPT maker OpenAI, pledged $2.9 billion to increase the nation's AI capabilities and offered AI training to 3 million workers in Japan. Some believe that geopolitical tensions have made Japan a more attractive and stable partner compared to China due to supportive government policies, resilient startups, and a potentially shifting global tech scene. Some even think it's an opportunity for Japan to regain its tech edge. Firms in Japan like Sony and Toyota are also collaborating with US giant IBM on a semiconductor project called Rapidus, which is aiming to mass produce 2-nanometer logic chips in Japan from 2027. Are you tired of hearing about the sports betting scandal involving baseball star Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter Ippei Mizuhara? Well, Mizuhara had his first day in court. A federal judge in Los Angeles ordered Mizuhara to undergo gambling addiction treatment stemming from allegations he stole $16 million over multiple years from Ohtani's bank account to pay off gambling debts. He faces up to 30 years in prison if convicted. His attorney issued a statement saying Mizuhara wishes to take responsibility for his actions and hopes to reach a settlement to resolve this case as quickly as possible. Ohtani told the Los Angeles Times he was very grateful for the investigation by the Department of Justice, saying, "For me personally, I'd like to focus on baseball." Prosecutors said there was no evidence that Ohtani was involved with or aware of Mizuhara's gambling problem. It's still kind of weird though. I think most people would probably realize if that much money was coming out of their bank account, but okay. The amount of senior citizens living by themselves in Japan is expected to increase by 47% over the next few decades, which may cause problems for the national pension system. The National Institute of Population and Social Security research says the number of single-person households is estimated to reach 23.3 million in 2050, accounting for about 44% of households. Those who are 65 or older are likely to represent 46.5% of single-person households in 2050, compared to an estimate of only around 35% back in 2020. Japan has seen a constant decline in marriages in recent decades, with the idle economy causing harm over multiple generations. Almost a third of men in their 50s living in Tokyo have never been married. Even worse, data from the company Recruit Holdings shows that in Japan, among those in their 20s, 46% of men and 30% of women have never even dated. But did they count virtual girlfriends? And now it's time for the weird and wonderful news brought to you by the Bank of Japan. Please fix the inflation and exchange rate. I can't handle it anymore. Disclaimer, the Bank of Japan isn't actually sponsoring this. That is a joke. Ha 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 ha. Do you think you'll be able to ride a bicycle 600 kilometers when you're 89? I can't even do that now. But that's what Mitsuo Tanigami did in order to see his 61-year-old son Naoya. Instead of hopping on a train, Mitsuo decided to ride his electric-assisted bicycle all the way from Kobe to Tokyo, a trip which took 9 days. And he made the trip without any GPS. I can barely go to McDonald's without GPS. Mitsuo went full old school with a paper map and pencil. He said that seeing his son continuously challenge himself through his life made him want to challenge himself as well. And Mitsuo didn't just take the easy path either. He purposely took the tough roads, like through the steep mountains of Hakone. Don't worry though, even if he didn't use the GPS, he did still have his smartphone on hand so he can contact his children. Whenever he got lost, he'd ask for directions from locals who would guide him towards landmarks. He spent the nights at hotels or inns, but not everything was smooth sailing. Heavy rain and strong winds along his trip caused Mitsuo to fall from his bike around 20 times before reaching his destination. On a happy note though, along the way to Tokyo, he got to spend 2 days with his daughter in Aichi Prefecture. After arriving at his son's home in Tokyo, he said, "It was a tough experience, but I'm happy that I was able to make my son happy." The two had a nice time sightseeing, and when it was time for Mitsuo to go home, he biked all the way back to Kobe. Just kidding, he left the bike with his son. But he did say that when he visits his son the next time, he plans on riding the same bike back to Kobe for another lengthy ride. You'd think with all the security in a department store, it would be hard to steal a 10 million yen bowl made of pure gold, right? Security? What security? The bowl in question was displayed in a clear plastic case, without a lock, might I add, at a gold exhibition on the 8th floor of a Takashimaya department store in Tokyo. But around noon on April 11th, a staff member discovered it was mysteriously missing. When they checked the security footage, they saw a man remove the bowl from the display and place it into his backpack, just 20 minutes before it was realized to be missing. While this thief was certainly bold, he clearly wasn't bright enough to watch out for cameras, and was promptly arrested 2 days later. Masaru Horie, 32, told police he stole the bowl because he wanted to drink tea from it. Instead of having a nice bowl of tea though, he quickly changed his mind and sold it to a secondhand goods shop the same day for 1.8 million yen, a pretty yenny. The shop quickly resold it to an antique dealer, but the police were able to safely retrieve the golden bowl on April 15th. Because you know, like a pretty penny, but it's a yen. One lucky Japanese astronaut is going to be the first non-American to set foot on the moon when NASA's upcoming Artemis missions begin. The Artemis program plans to bring humans back to the moon for the first time in over 50 years. And if we get any comments about how the moon landing was faked, between 1969 and 1972, the US Apollo program saw 12 Americans walk on the moon. And now, NASA aims to increase its presence in hopes of pushing onwards to Mars. The new Artemis 3 mission to take astronauts to the lunar surface is expected to launch in 2026, with the aforementioned Japanese astronaut on board. It seems the space race is heating up yet again, with the European Space Agency, China, and India all hoping to put their own astronauts on the moon in the next decade. In 2025, the World Expo will kick off in Osaka, hoping to unite the world. While that dream may not come to fruition, the world is united in its dislike of a multi-billion yen structure being built for the exhibition. What they're building aims to be one of the largest wooden structures known to man, but its high costs and lack of positive public reception is already soured its appeal. The ring-shaped structure will have a circumference of 2 kilometers and will sport a 20-meter high canopy called the Grand Roof, which on its own costs 35 billion yen. Kenta Izumi, a politician and opposition party leader, called it the world's most expensive parasol. Also, the Grand Roof is a temporary thing, with no real plans to reuse or recycle it. Spectacular. I'm glad the people with the power and resources to make something like this have such amazing foresight. The construction budget has increased 27% since 2020 and is now estimated at a total of 235 billion yen. Inflation and the worker shortage added to the cost, but geez. The expo will take place at Osaka Bay from April 13th to October 13th in 2025. So make sure to check it out and snap a pic with the googly-eyed red and blue alien thingy and the flying electric car before the site turns into a resort with Japan's first casino. Yep, that's the plan. I didn't make that up. Also, really important, by the way, the alien's name is Myaku Myaku. Just make sure you remember that. It will be on the test. Myaku Myaku. And that's all for this week's news. Now, I'm off to my part-time job to work on the Grand Roof. How else am I supposed to feed my family in this economy? Help. One lucky Japanese astronaut is going to be the first non-American to set foot... What's foot? One lucky Japanese astronaut is going to be the first... Oh no. I just saw the word foot and I laughed. Oh no. Gosh. One lucky Japanese astronaut is going to be the first non-American to set foot on the... Oh no! No! The first time I did it, I just accidentally said it in a weird way, and now it's funny to me. It's entirely me being dumb. One lucky Japanese astronaut is going to be the first non-American... Oh no, I'm in a laughy mode. Oh no! I'm ruined. I'm so stupid.